we're here at Christie's to talk about a magnificent guitar collection.
You saw my reaction when I walked in here. I've never seen these guitars all out. They lived in boxes in their guitar cases. I'd take them out kind of one by one. Gere and I used to talk about this. You know, you take them out, you know them all. There was a reason why you wanted them to begin with. You spent time with them before you made a decision, and you felt something, and you heard their voice, you know, and started to get comfortable with their voice. And each one kind of suggests another song. You know, every guitar you pick up makes you want to play differently. I mean, they're just beautiful things.
Richard, you're known as an actor, of course. We know you also as a pianist. We know you as a guitar player. Tell me about your musical background.
I grew up in a family that there was music around all the time. My father played trumpet. My mother played the piano a little bit. We all had lessons, and I was a trumpeter when I was a kid. But we all played different musical instruments, and we all sang. So, you know, there were 5 kids in the family, so we sang 7-part harmonies, and all the music instruments were out, and we played. Guitar came later, you know, when I was a teenager. Unfortunately, I never had any lessons on either instrument, so I'm a little idiosyncratic in what I do. Technically, it's probably not right what I do, but it was the way I figured it out.
There is no right on the guitar.
Yeah. But music is still just such a strong, important, soulful part of my family's life, my life.
Do you remember your first guitar?
It was an acoustic, and I remember, my mother tells a story. There was this music shop that sold guitars near where I grew up, in the suburbs of Syracuse. And I had this thing about guitars, and I was probably 13 or 14. And I thought, guitars is where I want to go. I don't want to play trumpet anymore. I don't want to be in the marching band. I want to be cool. And there's guitars. So I'd go in there, and I saw this one guitar there, and it was like for $50, which was not inexpensive at the time for a cheap acoustic guitar. But apparently I went in there every day after school for a month. And I kept looking at it moon-eyed and, you know, shaking my head because I didn't have $50. And finally Mrs. Camilli said to me, all right, I know you want the guitar. How much do you want to spend? 15? Will you take 15? She said, all right. Take 15. So I took a $50 bill out of my pocket and paid for the guitar. I hadn't thought about this before, but I had that guitar, which I liked a lot, and I learned how to play simple chords on that and play Bob Dylan songs, 3-chord songs on that, and started to learn how to finger pick a little bit. And
You started finger picking early.
Well, I was listening to Dylan, and I was listening to the Byrds. Byrds was my first inspiration because it was simple enough, but it had so much stuff going on. It was super cool, great songs, great lyrics, incredible harmony. They just had a great feel about it. I can still hear the first. I bought almost all these guitars because, not because they were old, but they knew they were guitars. A guitar has to be played a lot before it just says, oh, I'm a guitar, and it starts to feel comfortable with that, and it resonates in an incredible way. They got the sound. They got the feel, and that means a lot more to me than the rest of it.
So you weren't collecting as a coin collector would collect a coin, or stamp collectors would collect stamps where you're looking for purity. You were looking for the musical soul in the instrument.
I'm trying to think if there were any guitars that I bought just because they were perfect, and, you know, from a collector's point of view.
The 335?
I wanted that guitar. Probably Lloyd or someone like that said, look, if you want one of those, you got to call Norm. He's one of the big guys in California. And I was there shooting. I had like one day, and out of the blue, I called him. And I said, I want the most incredible 335. It's got to play great. If it looks great, fabulous. But I know it's got to have PAFs. It's got to be a real guitar. I said, I got the guitar. I said, but I'm leaving early in the morning. He said, well, this is one of those things, like at midnight, if you meet me I can meet you halfway at the shopping mall, and
Do the deal in the
it
parking
was
lot.
like a deal in the parking lot. And he showed me this guitar, and it looked way too good for me, because it was so clean, you know, and a lot of these guitars, you know, they're very played, you know, they have the marks in the right places, someone who played that for.
soul, yeah.
This is a very soulful guitar, but it's really super clean. I mean, that's
a good
that's
instrument.
an amazing guitar.
Why a 335?
Well, those PAFs are just extraordinary. And of the semi-acoustic guitars, there's nothing like it. It is it. In terms of design, sound, playability, I mean, it's the best. There's nothing you can't play with that guitar. You're a jazz guy, you can play that guitar. You're a blues guy, you play that. You're a rock guy, you can play that guitar.
Anything.
Anything on that guitar. I'm not surprised that they're worth as much as they are right now.
They're
Because
highly
they are
coveted.
so incredible.
And looking at this collection, there's a good representation of ES-335s, all from the 50s and early 60s, and from ones with Bigsby's, ones without.
I like Bigsby's. You know, everyone's kind of
I like
snooty
them.
about it, you know.
Just remember, Neil Young's always used a Bixby, and don't tell me he ain't stinging.
And I know, and he's like this the whole time.
Yeah.
He doesn't
wangs
stop.
on it, man. Yeah. That's the great thing about, to me, all these old guitars. We don't know where they've been. I was playing the D'Angelico this morning, sitting here playing it.
Yeah.
And I was looking at the marks on it and thinking about the guy that owned it, you know, before World War II. And what did he play on?
You know who owned that?
No.
D'Angelico.
That was
his guitar.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. It's a great guitar.
And I spoke to D'Acquisto about this, and he said, you know, that was the guitar that D'Angelico had hanging in his shop all the time.
So
And
that's in
the
those
one he
photos of
played.
the shop, right?
When D'Angelico died, this is the only thing D'Acquisto got from him. The estate gave him this.
It's a great guitar. I
You know,
love
it's a different sound than music I would play, but you can play some blues stuff on it too. It feels a little.
Oh, yeah.
The action's pretty good on it. Not bad. A little high, but not bad.
A little high. It plays like butter now. It's playing great. And I like these early ones. I like these, you know, for me, I know a lot of guys like the great big, you know, super fancy ones. I like these early,
No, I like
beautiful
this
D'Angelicos.
little smaller body
yeah.
on it too. I like that a lot.
It's probably 1933, 34.
That's what I was going to say,
Is that
33.
Yeah. He was very inconsistent. He was consistent in numbering, but he didn't always write them in his ledger books. So there's holes.
One of the ways, and I'm not an expert on this, but the carving on the bridge is just
It's like a
great.
violin bridge.
It really is.
Yeah. Look at the
classic.
beautiful flame
Yeah.
back on this, and beautifully married wood.
In your office, you've got a wonderful collection of books on the history of blues and early American jazz. Your passion is not only of the instruments, but it's also the historical time period in which they were used and played. Was that something also that's driving your collecting?
That was the time. Rock and blues was still happening. Certainly every guitar player that I would want to sound like somehow came up from the Delta to Chicago and
From Memphis
that thing
or
is,
somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from somewhere south up into the cities and recorded.
Your passion was American roots music, but blues in particular, and that country blues.
Just emotional music.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
real soulful, direct, as straight as it can possibly. As Robert Johnson, I mean, still feels like it was done yesterday. It's so emotionally naked. Who would have ever thought that the slide guitar, you know, would still be touching people? But it is something, boy, it cuts right to your center.
From a connoisseur and a musician standpoint, they're all truly great musical instruments, and not necessarily the purest example with every screw perfect.
No,
But
I was
some of them
never.
are. But some of them are.
No, some
yes.
of them are amazing that way, but it was never what I was looking for. And a lot of these guitars, to me, are the ones that I sit down and play because they're just right. Everything's right about them. And, you know, if I'm sitting around the house, those are the ones that I would pick up and just let it ring. You just let it talk to you a little bit. And
Richard, you collect other works of art, arts and crafts. For sure.
Yeah. I think there's an affinity to it. There's a kind of a directness and honesty about it. At the same time, the arts and crafts movement was one about simplicity.